Hello and welcome to Amit's Tech Sessions. My name is Amit and I'm a software architect. In this session, I will talk about DevSecOps. What is DevSecOps and how you can implement DevSecOps in your software development lifecycle. So before I talk about DevSecOps, it is important to understand DevOps. What is DevOps? DevOps is a philosophy, DevOps is a methodology, DevOps is a practice where developers and operations team collaborate together to deliver the software with high velocity. Before DevOps came into the IT world, developers and operations used to work in silos. Developers used to develop the code and create the artifacts, and then operations team was responsible to release those artifacts or deploy those artifacts into the environments. And they also were responsible for monitoring the software. And developers were not even aware of what is going on with the software which they have developed. With DevOps culture, that has completely changed. Now, developers and operations team they collaborate together on the software delivery, which actually helps in accelerating the software delivery. DevOps is often used with the agile software delivery methodology. So now let's talk about DevSecOps. So what is DevSecOps? DevSecOps is a culture. DevSecOps is a philosophy. DevSecOps is a practice. It is the practice of integrating security at every stage of the software development process. So DevSecOps includes tools and processes that encourages the collaboration among developers, security specialists, and operations teams to build the software that is both efficient and also secure. DevSecOps actually brings a cultural transformation that makes security a shared responsibility for everyone who is building the software. So with DevSecOps, security is not only security team's responsibility, it is the responsibility of everyone who is involved in building and delivering the software. Since DevSecOps is a practice of integrating security into software delivery pipeline, let's talk about this pipeline. When you start a software project, it starts with a plan, then you move to the code, then you move to the build, then test, and then you prepare a release, and that release is deployed into an environment. After deployment, there are two key stages which are important from operations point of view: operate and monitor. So once the software is deployed, it is operated and monitored by operations, and there is always a close collaboration between developers and operations for that monitor and operate stage. Monitoring feedback then goes back to the planning stage for the software. Now, from security standpoint, in this view, security needs to be applied at each stage of software delivery, starting from plan to monitor. So let's understand this with an example. This is a real life example of how you can implement security into CI/CD pipeline of a software. In the previous diagram, we had stages like build, test, preparing the release, and deployment. In this example, we have introduced some security stages in between the existing stages. After build and test, we have injected open source scanning, static application security testing, and secret scanning stages. So let's say you are building an application written in Java. This application needs some open source dependencies. So it is important to scan those open source dependencies because they can be vulnerable and can security issues in your application. Static application security testing is also important in order to identify any security vulnerabilities which your source code may have. We have also injected secret scanning stage here. Many times developers knowingly or unknowingly commit the secrets into their code repository. Hence, it becomes important to scan your code to identify any stored secrets within your code base. So after the secret scan is performed, then we will prepare the artifact and we will upload that artifact into a registry or repository. For this example, let's assume we are building a Docker container from that Java application. That Docker container is uploaded to a container registry. Container brings a base image inside it, and base images may be vulnerable. Hence, it is also important to scan the whole container to identify if there are any security vulnerabilities associated with that container. If there are any critical or high security vulnerabilities throughout this process, you can stop the pipeline and not proceed with the deployment. This was a simple example of how you can implement DevSecOps into the software CI/CD pipeline. DevSecOps is all about shifting left the security. Nowadays, companies are also using IDE plugins to identify security vulnerabilities in open source dependencies and static code. So you don't even have to wait for CI/CD pipeline to trigger. You can identify security vulnerabilities in development itself. So let's understand what benefits DevSecOps brings to the companies. It provides you a shift left of software vulnerabilities, which gives you an early view of whether your software is secure or not, and it saves a lot of time and efforts for you. Second, the features you are delivering become more secure when DevSecOps is implemented into your software delivery process. Third, your secure software goes quicker into the market because with DevSecOps, you eliminate the security issues before the software going live or into production. The fourth, DevSecOps allows companies to ensure they are meeting their regulatory and compliance requirements. And the last but not the least, DevSecOps brings a security aware culture in the company, which gives the staff a view of how DevSecOps actually can provide benefits to the company. So now let's discuss some of the best practices for DevSecOps. Ensure that you are using automated tools for security. Performing manual security scanning increases your efforts and needs a lot of time investment. There are various tools available in the market. Ensure to perform a security scanning of the open source dependencies. Ensure you are performing static application security testing to find out security vulnerabilities associated with your source code. Additionally, you can also perform dynamic application security testing. If you do that, that would be great. Dynamic application security testing works by simulating automated attacks on an application, which is like mimicking a malicious attacker. If you have the infrastructure as code in your repository, make sure to perform a security scanning of that infrastructure as code. Always shift left the security as much as possible. As I mentioned earlier, try to shift left the security scanning into developer workstation. Embrace the continuous delivery process and have DevSecOps part of it. This will help you with reduced time to market for your software. DevSecOps is a cultural shift for any organization who have never been into it before. It takes a lot of efforts to change the culture and build a security-aware culture in the company. Hence, provide the security training to the team and the staff across the company. And the last but not the least, use continuous security monitoring to keep an eye on security incidents, attacks, or any vulnerable actions performed by attackers. That's all I have for this video. I hope this was useful. If you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn or Medium, there are QR codes up on the screen. Thank you very much.